Hi everybody, I'm Steve Schaeber from MACS. In August 2022, MACS participated in a video project with one of our longtime manufacturer members, Koura. Formerly known as Mexichem, Koura makes a refrigerant that you surely know called Klea. In fact, you may have a cylinder of Klea 134A in your own shop right now, as Koura is one of the largest manufacturers of R134A and the world's largest producer of fluorspar, a mineral mined from the earth that's an essential raw material in the production of R134A refrigerant. The following video is an interview that was conducted by MACS President Peter Coll, who sat down with Dr. Chris Seeton, Koura's Applications Director. Dr. Seeton is leading Koura's transition to low-GWP refrigerants in response to ever-tightening EU F-gas regulations, the recently signed US AIM Act, and the current EPA HFC phasedown. One of the topics they discuss is Koura's new low-GWP refrigerant, Klea 456A, which is marketed as a drop-in alternative to R134A for the automotive aftermarket in Europe. We at MACS know Dr. Seeton primarily through his role as chairman of the SAE Interior Climate Control Fluids Committee, where he is a leading expert on the thermophysical properties of refrigerant and lubricant mixtures, including viscosity, heat capacity, solubility and miscibility, and their effects on working systems, including, you guessed it, mobile AC compressor operation. And now I present to you Peter Coll and Dr. Chris Seeton right here in the conference room at MACS.
Now I know that you chose to depart from Honeywell for another opportunity with Shreve, and spent some time there, and we were still partners, if you will, in SAE projects and so forth. And then your most recent move over to Koura, kind of back to where I found your home, if you will, back in the refrigerant lane. So, how's refrigerant life?
Well, I've certainly taken twists and turns over the years as markets have ebbed and waned, flowed. So developing 1234YF was a blast. It was the challenge of my career, getting all the vehicle manufacturers to march to a single drummer, to come to agreement, to make a global change away from 134A. Even before moving to Honeywell and working on 1234YF, I was 12 years developing CO2 for the German car manufacturer. So I've actually been trying to replace 134A in vehicles since 1995. So it's almost 30 years.
So it only took you a good, 17 of those years to make it happen.
That's right. It took me 17 years to actually get the first break in the armor of 134A and move everybody to at least production to 1234YF. Now, once we got 1234YF into production, I saw that an opportunity to work on the stabilization of the material. It's great for the environment. It exists in the atmosphere for about 11 days. But we need cars to exist for 10, 12, 15 years. And then the stationary market goes 20, 30 years on a lot of their equipment. So I saw a career opportunity to move to create the oils and the ad packs in order to allow the 1234YF materials to have stable lifetimes during their use in equipment. So the move to Shreve was a logical one because it allows us now to make this leap into the stationary markets. And when Trump signed the AIM Act as part of the omnibus COVID bill, I decided it was time for me to come back into refrigerants, that things were going to start happening and the industry needed the ability to make that transformation and do it in a meaningful way where the customer doesn't get penalized with cost of the refrigerant or undue decomposition. Because, like I said, these refrigerants are great. They're a great win for the environment. They're a great win for business and technicians who service equipment in the right ways. They severely penalize technicians and practices that one would find sloppy although it may be acceptable with today's HFCs, there's a lot of practices that allow to sneak through. But we just need to figure out how we're going to get this equipment operating, how we're going to make the conversion easy, how we're going to ensure the life of the equipment that's come forward. And that brought me to Koura. And with Koura, we're the largest manufacturer of 134A in the U.S. and that is good and bad. I mean, it's great that we've been able to service the car industry for as long as we have and provide 134A into the industry. But with the passage of the AIM Act, it caused Koura to start reflecting on where's their business going to go? What's it going to be in the next 5 years as the AIM Act takes hold and starts reducing the total carbon that a manufacturer can even produce? Mm-hmm. What's the portfolio going to look like in the next 5, 7, 10 years? It's going to be vastly different. Mm-hmm. So, with a manufacturer that has a vested interest in continuing their business, Koura was the right move for me moving back into refrigerants. It allows us to compete with the Honeywell and Chemours of the world to start bringing the industry together such that transitions can be made.
And so I appreciate that as we spent the day here today, we dug out some artifacts, if you will. We've dug out a cylinder of Klea 134A, which is a Koura brand, but it was known as Enos at the time. Yeah. And then my first introduction to what is now Koura was with Mexichem and Sean Cunningham and Bob Lowe and so forth as part of the 1234YF, and great people there. And there's, I guess, as we look at it, and I may screw this up, but that's okay. It's not unusual for me. But you've got Koura, you've got Daikin, you've got Arkema, you've got Honeywell, and you've got Chemours. And those are kind of what we consider to be the major players, at least from the SAE side of things. And there may be other manufacturers which are larger, but certainly not quite as well known, at least to my world. So, moving from the Honeywell side to the Koura side, you kind of went from one of the big guys to one of the big guys. And it seems like a logical thing to do. You mentioned the AIM Act, and my recollection is the AIM Act was on page 1076 or something of this particular bill. So kind of like it was shoved in there, but it's going to have a significant impact. And it's going to have a significant impact because it's not only affecting automotive. And you can explain this for us in more depth, but essentially you have chemicals they've determined to be somewhat harmful to the environment. Now they're going to restrict the amount of those chemicals that can be produced or placed into the market over the next 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. That's right. The AIM Act is 30 pages inside of an omnibus bill. It was something, if you're a pessimist, you would say it was snuck in there. It was something that came into a larger bill and didn't pass on its own with its own debate. And as such, I do think, maybe it was a little aggressive, maybe it wasn't aggressive enough, but at the same point in time, it brings change to the marketplace, and that's not bad. Mm-hmm. Change is good for folks that embrace it. Now, you can always, go shouting at the windstorm. It won't do any good. The windstorm's too powerful. So it's better to flow and adopt it and accept it. And start moving forward with product offerings. And I think it's a great opportunity for fast adopters. It's a great opportunity for people to take a look at what they've got, whether you're in the automotive industry or in the stationary industry, whether you're on the cold chain or on transport. It touches every aspect of our lives. And that's something that I wish Congress would have debated a little bit more because of how far reaching this is. This isn't about cars on the road, running refrigerants, because we've already made the transition to the 1234YF. We were already at it outside of the AIM Act. So 1234YF obviously is not included in the AIM Act. But what happens is we've got an existing fleet of vehicles on the road that need to be serviced, and that's really where the waves are coming in, is in the service side of the existing 134A fleet. Now, this is a short-term opportunity. this fleet is only going to be around for the next 8 to 12 years, essentially. So we'll have collectibles live past that. We'll have vehicles that obviously get their lives extended due to necessity that aren't collectibles because, that's all folks can afford. And as such, that's the one nice thing about moving to a Koura type brand is we are interested in stabilizing the market. This is the automotive market. Since we're a 134A manufacturer, it is our bread and butter. We do want to see stability in the marketplace. We do want to take a look at the future, knowing that the patent portfolio of Honeywell and Chemours, it will expire in the future. And how are we going to participate in order to bring new products into the marketplace that allows change to take place? And what I mean by change is change folks can afford.
Sure.
That's important to us.
Yeah. Well, it seems like this is, I'm going to call it a necessary evil. I was very comfortable with 134A. Obviously, there's some global warming challenges that have been determined. And as I tell all the classes that I teach, I'm not here to tell you if the dinosaurs are going to come back to roam the earth if we don't do something. But the determination has been made that that global warming or global warming potential is a contributor to some negative things in the environment. If there's things that we can do to fend off or delay or even reverse some of these negative things in the environment, we should. So the reduction in HFCs is one of those. You have a new product or a product that's been developed and been provided with an ASHRAE number, the 456A, as I'm going to call it a drop-in replacement, but I'm going to use that really as it's not a top-off replacement. It's intended that proper, good air conditioning service begins with understanding the customer's complaint, trying to duplicate the customer's complaint. And if you get to a point in which you need to determine how much refrigerant is in the system, you do a proper recovery and recharge. And this becomes an opportunity if that system was, let's say, a couple of 100 grams low on refrigerant, that you can use 456 with 456A. I'm going to be careful. I always want to add the A because we know that there's differences down the road. But you can use that refrigerant with your 134A equipment to recharge the vehicle and not be concerned about mixing the existing 134A from the vehicle with the 456 that is in the AC service machine. So that's really kind of an advantage here, and really intended. Again, you'll stop me when I screw this up, but really intended that as the price of 134A by itself goes higher, there might be a stable price item like a 456 that can take its place, do the job, be environmentally friendly, or at least significantly more environmentally friendly than 134A, and serve the market. So when we look at that, what should we expect? Are we expecting 50% better environmentally? Are we expecting 50% lower cost than 134A? What should the shop owner or technician expect?
Well, first off, let me say that this is not a cure-all. This is not magic dust. This is a refrigerant that if you have good practices and the vehicle is in relatively good condition or can be serviced back to good condition, this is a refrigerant that you can take a look at. And why? Why do folks want to do this? Is it cost? Well, in the short term, we're committed to providing it at 134A cost. So we want to give the market something where they can go, I can buy this or I can buy this. Because the simple reality is next year, you're not going to see a whole lot of change in the marketplace. We're going to go ahead and launch in the U.S. It's going to be small. It will not be the choice most people take, and we accept that. We're launching in Europe, and we expect that to be better because of the supply constraints that they've got going on over there.
They're a little further ahead in this whole process of restricting HFCs than we are.
Well, it's twofold. They're a little further along on their F-gas and restricting it. They've got another major step down coming up in the next couple of years. But also this Ukraine war has limited illegal Russian imports of 134A into the European market. And so that black market that used to exist of Russian imported material has essentially closed its door with the invasion of Ukraine. So that material used to service a lot of vehicles in Europe, and now the door is closed. So now the scarcity of supply is something that they've got to take heed of. And I'll say for legitimate business owners, that's a good thing, because that allows them to get the value that they were needing to get out of the service of the vehicle, and continue to run their shop in a profitable way. Now in the US, like I said, it's a little bit different. The phase down next year isn't there. But what I do expect is on January 1st of 2024, when we have another 30% step down, as a manufacturer, my ability to produce 134A just went down by 30%. I legally cannot produce that material unless somebody comes to me with their credits and asks me to produce it, if they have it. So if they don't have it, then I am capped at the amount of material I can produce. And that's gonna start sending shockwaves through the industry, because all of a sudden, the industry is not going to have 30% of the material that it normally buys every year.
And it's not just you guys.
No,
it's
everybody.
All the manufacturers and the imports that are coming in.
That's right. It's not just us. It's
right.
Importers. It's our competitors, our other big friends in refrigerants manufacturing. It's everybody. So it's not like we can have somebody decide, well, they're going to make more because everybody else makes less. Legally you can't do that. We are limited. And so this is where providing the stability of the marketplace. And I'll say that it has to, when they passed the AIM Act, I think what they were expecting to happen on the automotive market anyway, stationary is a little different, but on the automotive market, they were expecting these 134A cars to age out of the marketplace at about the same rate as the AIM Act was starting to take hold. And so there was this natural progression of removal of market just due to the vehicle age.
Supply chain.
Yeah, it's just normal, but now we've got supply chain, okay, and now we've got steel prices, and now we've got chip shortages, and now we've got all these other situations.
And we've got wheels falling off electric Toyotas that they've had to recall.
Yeah, there's been problems the world over in getting things made to the desired quantity or quality that's needed in the marketplace. So, this is where we have to figure out how to leverage what we have. We have to figure out how to extend it. And that's what 456A is. Like I said, 456A is not magic. It will not provide another level of comfort or cooling. What it will do is, if your car is working properly, it will provide cold air to the customer at the level they expect, at the fuel economy they expect. And you will have to make minimal changes to that system. In fact, in most cases, you will make no changes to the system.
Right.
You will simply bring it in for service. We're going to work with the technicians. We're going to work with the other aspects of the service industry, refrigerant identifiers, machines, all these aspects for professional service, to make sure that as this extender gets in there, as we have to extend the life of the 134A fleet, we can do it with the regulator's best interest in mind. They want to reduce the carbon, the total CO2 equivalents going into the atmosphere. So, I tell folks that for every kilogram of 134A we can displace in the market, we're saving 3/4 of a ton of CO2 equivalent. That's a big difference, and it's simply a displacement equation. It's not I'm better than you. No, this is a refrigerant that's going to operate like the original refrigerant that was in the vehicle. So it allows those cars to function, is what it allows them to do.
So just for a second, the GWP of 134A is like 1,430 according to, I guess, the AR5 assessment. AR4 assessment. Yeah. Okay, so then we've now got AR5 and AR6, and I don't know, but 1430 is what the number we use.
It's the regulatory.
The regulatory number. Yeah. And then 456A is in the 620s.
Yeah, 625 or 626, I think is the cited number. Yeah. But it is over half a reduction. So it's 55%, I think, is the actual number. But it allows us to save those carbons, and it's because of the blend of 456A, how it comes together. And that's why the machines won't know the difference. It's why the car won't know the difference. It was formulated with replacing 134A in mind. It just didn't have a marketplace marketplace because 134A was so inexpensive at the time it came out. It was a great idea, with no home.
Yeah.
And the AIM Act has changed that in that it's still a great idea, but now it has relevance in the marketplace because it's just an extender. It allows us to extend the life of these vehicles that would otherwise ordinarily age out of the fleet under normal conditions, but we are not in normal conditions right now.
Right. So, when we think about this, obviously there's potential that there'll be other people who come to market with I don't want to call it a similar product, but a similar concept product, where it's a refrigerant, maybe a blend refrigerant of some sort. I'm not aware of any single component that we can use here, but a blend refrigerant, but all really with the same goal.
That's right.
There may be price differences, maybe performance differences, et cetera, but everybody has the same goal. And that is to be able to supply the market with a sufficient amount of product to be able to service these legacy 134A vehicles for their lifetime, because we all, including myself, are very concerned that the amount of 134A that will be available for use in servicing vehicles may be insufficient as we move forward in the future. And you're getting essentially a 2-for-1. Is that the way you look at it?
You're getting a 2-for-1, and that's it. And I know, we're focused on the auto in this discussion, but as Koura, as their applications director, I have to look at the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the big picture is we have to protect the cold chain. We have to protect the transportation, the storage, the logistics of getting food to people. And that industry tends to use refrigerants like 404A, 407 series refrigerants, very high GWP. And this phase down is going to impact them. And so if I have to move CO2 equivalents away from auto to protect the food chain, then I will.
Right.
There are some things that are necessary.
It's a higher priority.
It's a higher priority for Koura to make sure that, comfort cooling is nice and wonderful, but food is a necessity. So if we have somebody screaming on the door saying, I need refrigerant and I need it because my supermarkets are going to close in Kansas, or, the slaughterhouses aren't going to be able to process meat, those customers are going to get priority for that carbon. And we'll put together the refrigerant to do it at the expense of the automotive industry. So how do we balance this equation? And the only way to balance the equation is move auto to a lower foothold, so we will have flexibility to take care of these other needs that we have to take care of in the industry.
Right. So you're providing a solution so that while you may have to move them down in the pecking order, you don't have to deny them product.
Yes.
You're able to use a different product to be able to meet their needs. Because some of the cold chain, at least today, may not have suitable alternatives or at least enough suitable alternatives that can help them double down, if you will, on their production of refrigerant.
Well, that's exactly it. Is a lot of the food chain, a lot of the new refrigerants are 2L category, which is great. As engineers, we can solve it. We solved the problem with 1234YF moving it into auto. It was an engineering challenge. It took a lot of people, 5 to 7 years to get to a position we were able to launch it. There's been incremental change and learnings over the last 9 years since we've launched. And so we've really come up with a solution that's great. But we've also got equipment in other industries that can't go to a 2L. It means they can't go to the GWP foothold that we can move auto to, basically from 1430 to 1, which is the transformation with 1234YF. And we were just going to allow the existing 134A to continue through its life and then age out under normal circumstances. This would be a death market. There would be no reason to launch a new product into a marketplace that was in a steady and rapid decline as the vehicle aged out. But like I said, situation's different now. The world's a little bit different because of situations. And as such, we've got to protect other industries. And that's my job at Koura, is making sure that we can balance the equation between comfort cooling, food, industrial refrigeration, and all these little bits and pieces that we use refrigerants today. That's why I wish the AIM Act had more debate, is because, it's great that we've embraced this reduction in CO2, but we should have thought about how fast and what industries, because we also have, something else. We have a decarbonization effort underway in the U.S. and abroad, where folks are banning natural gas in homes or in buildings, new construction buildings, and they're saying, well, let's put heat pumps in their place. Well, that makes a lot of sense from a total energy point of view. Mm-hmm. The only downside of that is that means we're going to use more refrigerants in heat pumps. So now we've got a growth market that everybody wants to embrace on refrigerant usage, and we've got a quota that's reducing our number at the same point in time. So, this makes for an interesting parlay of how do we negotiate, between all the interests there are right now, and some of those are in direct competition with one another.
Right. It's going to be a very interesting time that we have. I want to change topics for just a moment to your work with SAE.
Yep.
Again, we've known each other really through SAE for many, many years, and have toasted more than one cocktail at various events, including last night. But you've kind of ascended to, I guess, the role of chairman of the Fluids Committee.
That's right.
And I have some experience there, not with the fluids, but with the service committee and with the various roles of being vice chair or chair. But more importantly, you've kind of taken a lead role in this TMR CRP, the Thermal Management Refrigerant, I think is what it's called, Cooperative Research Program for SAE. Not only on behalf of Koura, but particular Team Entropy project, but it really expands beyond that because you're doing some of the heavy lifting that is going to be needed for any of the solutions that come out of the TMR CRP, or at least leading that heavy lifting. How has that experience been for you?
I love my activities with SAE. When I came to Koura, they asked me, how does this team entropy fit into our goals? And I go, well, there's only one way I'm coming to Koura, and that's to allow me to continue my work on team entropy. The auto industry is fascinating. There's so much opportunity. It is difficult beyond anything the stationary industry ever experiences. Not to say stationary is easy.
Yeah.
Stationary is not easy. But to produce a car at a price level that people can afford, to do it with a safety level that people feel comfortable getting into every day and sending their daughters and their sons to school or their wives to work, this is a challenge. And it is an engineering challenge that we're able to step up as an industry and do. And if I can play my small part to organize, that everybody competes on a fair and level playing field, that we talk about the hard topics, we talk about using hydrocarbons in refrigerant. We have to have that discussion, because if we don't, then it gives us a black eye at the end of the day, because we have our naysayers saying, well, you didn't even consider that. And the answer is we can't accept that as an industry. We have to do our due diligence and provide a solution to the customers, to the community at large, that balances safety with performance, with all the other requirements that are necessary in producing a vehicle, that we can buy, sell, put our loved ones in.
Sure.
And so I do it for my family. I do it for me, because I find a lot of self-worth and value associating myself with that, because at the end of the day, you can say, I did that. And yes, there's some negative connotations to that saying right now, but I am quite proud of my work in 1234YF. I'm excited about 456A launching. I'm excited about Team Entropy coming up with a solution that allows for electric vehicles and the thermal management of the battery, with the self-driving features, with the passenger comfort features, all tied into one engineered system. This is a great challenge that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the people. That's one thing that I've really kind of grown to. And there's some people who we had with us before who've moved on to other careers, and there are days when we miss those people. We're like, boy, I wonder what this person would have to say about that. And it's the personalities. And, we spend, again, a reasonable amount of time together on conference calls, weekly conference calls, where there might be 50 or 60 people, and you're usually in a presentation mode of some sort, and I'm kind of in a listening mode. But then we have our other meetings, SAE meetings, and so forth. So you kind of get this kind of camaraderie amongst the group of people across different disciplines. And there are people like yourselves who we address you as doctor, and then there are other people who are turning wrenches for a living, but we're all equal when we're kind of there, and everybody has a perspective, and learning, which I think we do a great job with, learning to appreciate and understand everybody's perspective is just so important, because you never know when that one good idea or when that one statement somebody makes is going to generate something and says, oh, you know what, we need to make sure we consider that, because that can get us into trouble later.
Well, that's what I love about SAE is the meetings are open to anyone. As long as you can figure out that we're having a meeting.
Or how to navigate that.
Yeah, we're working on that. But the reality is that in my meetings, at least, anyone is welcome to speak, and we will consider what you have to say, whether it's a mechanic or an engineer, whether you work for a vehicle manufacturer or don't. You work at a subcomponent supplier. Everybody's got a say in what we take a look at, and if there's ever a red flag thrown, it can be thrown by anybody.
Sure.
And we stop and we address the situation, because the SAE standards are one of the rare occurrence where we like passing things by unanimous consent. We don't like negative votes. As an industry, we like to figure out how can we resolve the situation, how can we address it, because more than likely the negative vote is with meaning. So
Sure.
It's something that we need to work to figure out and make sure we're not infringing on somebody's right to do business. That's not what we're after here. We're after about furthering the society and making sure that things are safe, things perform, that technicians, when they go buy a tool, are at least assured that they're getting some minimum level of performance. What is that hurdle to place these materials on the marketplace? I do wish that the retailers would take a little bit more notice of the standards we passed, because the SAE standards in a lot of ways and shapes are suggestions, and they're good suggestions. They set a minimum hurdle. But, when you go and buy something on the shelves of Walmart and Pep Boys or wherever, I wish that we could see the SAE sticker on the back of some of these products a little bit more. But, that's business, and buyer beware. But if we can continue to educate, even all the way down from the OEs, the guys designing the cars, all the way to the mechanics, the guys turning the wrenches to fix the cars. When it's a rust bucket, like my Subaru that spent too many years in Buffalo, it's not always easy, but we need to have that communication back. So we get situations where people don't do what I would consider to be a dumb thing. Yeah. You look at it and you go, well, that wasn't very smart. How do we prevent that from happening in the future? So right. SAE is special. It is a special organization, and I anybody who wants to get involved, can. You just got to figure out how to get in the meetings, which like I said, sometimes takes a little bit of a trick. Right. But that's what MACS is for, and that's why my email address isn't hidden anywhere. If you want to find it, look up my name. You'll find my email address. You might even find my personal email address. And drop me a note. Ask a question. There's no dumb questions except the one you didn't ask. Sure. I might point you to an answer and say, well, you might want to take a course. You right. might be better served to get some training. But that's a good question and answer set too. Is how do we advance ourselves?
Yeah, it's the SAE is as you said, special. Really special group of people. There's been many experiences with SAE, whether it's Red Rock or going to Daytona, et cetera. These various kind of side things that we do, but we do that kind of as a group of friends. Yep. And I love the fact that when we go in there, it's check the hat of whoever you work for at the door. You're acting as an individual. We all understand that someone's paying you or allowing you to participate in this, but your first priority is the good of the industry.
That's right.
and you need to put that ahead of any any financial gains that might be from your employer, or whatever the case might be. And that's one of the greatest parts of this.
Oh yeah, all the other organizations I have participation in, you're expected that your vote is coming from a business point of view, that your company is effectively, trying to further an agenda. With SAE, the rule is thou shalt behave as an expert in the field, and not as a member of your company. You should vote. Obviously there are considerations, things, and ideas you're trying to champion, and we all understand that. But at the time of casting your vote, you shall do it in the best interest of the society. Sure. And I think that's why we're able to get the unanimous consent as easily as we can. Is at the end of the day, we may debate something hotly, and names.
And there's been more than one.
Yeah, there's been more than one argument. The open argument. Not really name calling, but it's attacking the idea, not the person.
Sure. Because
at the end of the day, I've never had a situation where you can't go to the bar and share a drink with that person. Even on my worst days, I can still go grab a beer with the German manufacturers, and we can talk about this, that, or something else, and we can laugh about it, and we can go, but at the same point, there's that camaraderie in the industry going, I recognize what you have to do. Yep. I understand from a work position you have to do this. But at the end of the day, we still have to produce cars for people to drive.
Yep.
And so, the OEs do wield a big stick in saying thou shalt behave, because otherwise we're not going to buy your whatever.
Right. Your widget.
Your widget, your heat exchanger, your component, your service, whatever it is. And fortunately, the OEs abide by the same rules, so that's nice. It's nice that they do.
Anything in closing that you'd like to add?
No, it's what I have in closing is, the industry is going to change. The materials are going to change. The service practices have to get better. These refrigerants, these HFO, whether you're servicing a 1234YF vehicle or you're servicing a vehicle that may contain 456A, this is the opportunity for good mechanics to take market share. This is where we're still going to have a do-it-yourselfer. This is America. There's that natural tendency of folks to try and fix it themselves, and that's okay, because they tend to break it too. In which case, go get it serviced by a professional. And to be honest, there are some things you can do and some things you can't do without the proper tools. But, embrace the change. Take a look at the good and the bad. If you have questions, reach out to MACS, reach out to me at Koura, reach out to whichever refrigerant manufacturer you want, start getting the information you need. If you're not satisfied, reach out directly to me, reach out directly to Steve or you, Peter, here. Find the answers you're looking for, because we are happy to provide it. We are happy to help you out. If I don't have the answers, I'll send you to somebody else who might be able to solve the problem better. Sure. Because certainly I don't know.
And that's one of the things that we always say is, I may not have the answer, but I certainly will point you in the best direction I can to get the answer, or at least find someone who I think might be able to help you.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's a great thing. So I want to thank you for coming out. Really do want to thank you for spending the better part of the day and a half here in the streaming rain from last night, and a really nice dinner, and then a long day of filming things today. Yep. And wish you safe travels as you go about the rest of your week, and then off to Europe, and then we'll see you in Detroit.
Yeah, see you in Detroit, and we're going to keep moving with the direction we need to be moving in, and that's onwards and upwards.
Yep. Appreciate it. So this is Peter Coll, and I'm here with Chris Seeton from Koura. Thanks. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for visiting our MACS YouTube channel. If you like this video, please subscribe. We have many other videos you might enjoy. You can also find great content on our website, www.maxmobileairclimate.org, where I invite you to join MACS as a member and help support the quality, professional, mobile AC, information and training that you've come to expect from MACS through programs like these. I'm Steve Schaeber, and we'll see you next time.